supplement market is full of overhyped and overpriced nonsense. Every week there's some new miracle powder or capsule promising faster recovery, more energy, or superhuman performance. But the truth is, 99% of it is just clever marketing, designed to make you feel like you're missing some secret edge that everybody else is using. And in this video, I'm going to cut through all that noise and give you a straight up breakdown. Which supplements are actually worth your money, how to use them effectively, and which one you can confidently ignore. And before we dive in, let's get one thing straight. No supplement will make up for poor training. You can't out-supplement bad training habits. It's always the training that drives progress. Supplements might give you a small edge, a few percentage points, maybe by helping you to recover better or train a bit harder. But they only work if you're already doing the work. And if you want to understand how I structure effective swim training, grab my free ebook, Training Principles for Master Swimmers. Link is in the description. And now let's get into the supplements. And we begin with a category I called food mimicking products. Now, I don't love that term, but it gets the point across. And I'm talking about things like protein powders or recovery shakes and just regular old sports drinks. And these are not magic supplements. They're just convenient substitutes for real food. And in many cases, I wouldn't really call them supplements at all, because you could get all the exact same benefits from eating a normal meal, like a piece of chicken and a bowl of rice. And yes, I know this whey protein digests and absorbs a little bit faster, but in the grand scheme of things, these minute differences barely matter, because the real advantage in here is only just the practicality of it. So let's say after a tough swim, it's just easier to throw back a shake like this and then to unwrap a tuna sandwich on deck. And sure, chocolate milk would technically work too, but how many of us are lugging around a cooler to the pool? Protein and carb powders are just a more realistic way to hit your post-workout needs, especially when you're short on time or in transit. And the same goes for sports drinks. You can make your own at home. You just put water, sugar, some salt, and maybe some juice, because those are the active ingredients in every sport drink available. But grabbing a Gatorade or something similar is just more convenient, and it might taste better, which encourages you to actually drink enough to stay hydrated and fueled during long and or hot training sessions. So these products don't give you anything magical. They just make it easier to consistently meet your nutrition targets. And that convenience for a lot of people is worth the price. So the supplements in this category don't give you anything you couldn't get from regular food. They just make it easier to hit your nutrition targets, and that convenience for a lot of swimmers is worth it. Similarly, the next category is only conditionally useful, and I am talking about health supplements, because the need for extra vitamins, minerals, etc. depends entirely on you. What's your lifestyle, your location, and your eating habits and preferences? Take vitamin D, for example. If you live in the northern hemisphere, like I do here in Finland, where the sun basically disappears for half the year, you pretty much have to supplement. And even when we supplement, most people are still deficient when they get a blood test. And that would be my actual recommendation. Get a blood test and then supplement with an appropriate dose to get your levels to the optimal levels, which the last I checked were about 100 to 125 nanomoles per liters in Europe, or 40 to 50 nanograms per milliliters using the US units. And if you're not there, just get there, but there's no need to go overboard. And that rule applies to every vitamin and mineral. If you're deficient, then you supplement. And if you're not, then you don't. And it really is that simple. And you can figure this out with a blood test, or if you don't want to go that route, by looking honestly at your diet. If all you eat is chicken nuggets and fries, yes, you'll probably need a lot of supplements. But in that case, maybe start by fixing your food intake first. Because here's the thing, more isn't always better. Over-supplementing, especially with antioxidants or fat-soluble vitamins, can be harmful for your health and performance. For example, we know that overdosing beta-carotene, which is the precursor of vitamin A or vitamin C, can increase oxidative stress in the body, just like a deficiency would. There's a sweet spot for everything, and your first goal should always be to get there through real food. Now, aside from vitamin D, there are a couple more health supplements I can quite safely recommend. First, omega-3 fatty acids, more specifically DHA and EPA. And if you eat fatty fish like salmon a couple times a week, you're probably fine. But if you don't, or if seafood makes you gag, like it does for my daughters, and that's why I have a supplement for them, it's worth supplementing with fish or algae oil. And plant-based sources like flax, chia, or walnuts only contain ALA, a precursor that your body has to convert into DHA and EPA. And unfortunately, that conversion rate is terrible. So unless you're eating like a small forest of walnuts daily, it's probably not enough, and you need a supplement to get what your body needs. Or just learn to love fish, and that's your call. And last on my short list is magnesium. And now yes, the research is mixed. Some studies say it doesn't improve performance or prevent cramps. But anecdotally, I've seen it help. A lot. You get better sleep, fewer cramps, and just generally improved recovery. And maybe that's placebo, or maybe it's real, but either way, there's no harm in trying it. Just be sure you're using the right form, like magnesium citrate or glycinate, which this is, and those are both solid options, but there are probably others as well. Just avoid the cheapest form of magnesium oxide, because that's poorly absorbed and basically useless. And by the way, one of the best dietary sources of magnesium is chocolate, especially dark chocolate. So if you're indulging with chocolate daily, you might not need the pills at all. All right, now for the category everybody has been waiting for, performance supplements. And I'll be honest, this list is short, because in my opinion, there are only 3 that you should even consider taking. First, we have creatine monohydrate. And this is one of the most researched and well-supported supplements on the planet. So it's safe, it's effective, and it's cheap. And the standard dose is about 5 grams per day, every day, and there's no need to do this elaborate cycling or loading phases unless you want to saturate your muscles faster for some reason, because either way you'll end up in the same place within a few weeks. And some newer studies also suggest potential benefits for brain health and cognitive function, especially in older adults, vegans, or those under high mental stress. And doses used in those studies actually often go all the way up to 30 grams per day. But because I'm not an expert on this area, you should do your own research if that interests you, and then up the dose, especially if you find the new findings convincing. And creatine works by increasing phosphocreatine stores in your muscles, which helps regenerate ATP, which is the energy currency of your cells, during those short, high-intensity efforts. And this potentially means that through creatine supplementation, you can sprint at full intensity for 1 to 2 seconds longer, or push through 1 more rep at 90% of your 1 RM bench press, and then recover faster between those high effort performances. Now, a few percent improvement in performance might not sound like much, but across months of training, it can add up to better adaptations and faster improvements. And while you might feel a small increase in power output right away, the real benefit of creatine is in its ability to let you train harder and recover a bit faster inside the practice consistently over time. And now let's move to a very different kind of supplement. One that kicks in fast, impacts your entire nervous system, and happens to be the only legal stimulant for sports. And that's caffeine, or Red Bull in this case. And we all know it works, but for most of us, and I'm talking specifically to the person sipping their 8th coffee of the day or Red Bull of the day while watching this, it doesn't work the way you think it does. Because here's the problem. If you are a habitual caffeine user, that daily intake mostly just brings you back to baseline. The boost you think you're getting is really just the removal of withdrawal symptoms. Add more on top of that, and you're mostly just piling on the side effects. The jitteriness, the anxiety, stomach discomfort, and especially poor sleep. So if you want to actually use caffeine for performance benefits, you need to treat it like a tool and not like a lifestyle. So that means cycling it, taking regular breaks from caffeine ingestion and then bringing it back in strategically before key sessions or races. And now I'm not personally willing to do this. And let's be honest here, most of you probably won't either because we love our coffee. But if you're willing to try it, here's how to do it properly. The effective dose is about 3 to 10 milligrams per kilogram of body weight, or roughly 1.3 to 4.5 milligrams per pound of body weight. Take it about 1 hour before your event or session, and you should start low and test how your body reacts. So slowly increase the dose over time until you find the sweet spot where you feel more alert and perform better with minimal negative side effects. Now, even if you're not ready to commit to do a full caffeine cleanse, there's still a middle ground. Like everything, this isn't all or nothing. It's kind of a continuum. If you scale back your daily intake in the days or weeks leading up to a big race, it can help restore some sensitivity. Then when you hit yourself with a larger dose on race day, it might actually feel like something is happening again. Now, while caffeine gives you an immediate jolt, there's one group of performance supplements that might offer some benefits. And these are what I call the acid buffers. Compounds that might help your muscles to function at higher intensities for longer by delaying the drop in pH. However, the research and my experience is very mixed. Some evidence suggests that compounds like citrulline malate, beta-alanine, and sodium bicarbonate, which is just baking soda, might offer performance benefits, but the results are inconsistent and individual responses vary. They all work through slightly different mechanisms, if they work at all. But I think one supplement in this group has consistently shown positive effects, and that's beta-alanine. And beta-alanine works by increasing muscle carnosine levels, which helps buffer hydrogen ions, basically delaying the drop in pH during high-intensity efforts. This means your muscles can stay functional slightly longer under fatigue. And like everything else except the caffeine, it doesn't work instantly. You need to take it daily for several weeks before you see any real benefits. And the typical dose is around 4 to 8 grams per day, ideally split into smaller servings to reduce the side effects. And speaking of side effects, you might feel a tingling or pins and needles sensation on your skin shortly after taking it. It's totally harmless, and usually it will fade away over time or with smaller doses. And just like with creatine, you won't feel beta-alanine working during a session. But if it allows you to push just a little harder in repeated sprints or tough sets, and you do that consistently over months, it might lead to better adaptations and improved performance. And that's the real point of all of these performance supplements. You rarely get immediate benefits, but small boosts over time that only matter when stacked on top of focused, consistent training. And that's the list of performance supplements that actually work. Everything else, yeah, sure, there might be a study or two showing a tiny benefit in some specific context, but the effects are so small they're not going to show up on the scoreboard. And in the worst case scenario, some supplements can actually be harming your performance. So for example, ketone supplements that were all the rave a few years ago have now caused reduced sustained power output in endurance athletes in some research. So just because the label promises results doesn't mean it will. So here's the bottom line. Use convenience supplements if they make your routine easier. Take health supplements if your lifestyle, the environment where you live in, or diet makes them necessary. And if you're chasing performance, stick to the only 3 that really work: creatine, caffeine, and maybe beta-alanine. And everything else, save your money. Eat real food, train consistently, sleep well, because that's where real progress comes from, and no supplement can replace that. And if you want help building a sustainable training and nutrition routine that actually fits your life, check out my one-on-one coaching below. Thanks for watching. See you next time.